Hi friends, Valerie Turner with Close to My Heart, Val's Happy at Heart Paper Crafting, and welcome to card number 2 of Let's Party. I had so much fun with these bright and vivid colors in these cards, and you see I did it per the workshop instruction. And I added in some black cardstock, which really made those colors pop, as well as some shimmer trim and a fun embossing folder. Let's take a look. Grab your workshop instruction and all of your pieces for card number 2. The first card that I'm going to create is going to be exactly per the workshop instruction, but I did decide to stamp all 4 at the same time. Here you'll see I'm lining the stamps up on the piece of paper, and then I'm going to pick them up with the block. That ensures that my stamps are lined up just the way that I want them. Also, I'm bringing in a Post-it note, which I'm going to cover up those little arrows as a masking technique. So I first stamped one just to see how I'd seasoned it and made sure it looked good, and then we are on to stamp on the right side. So I'm putting the mask on the stamp when I ink it so that I'm not getting ink on those arrows, and then I'm taking the mask off so that I don't get ink on my paper. So let's take a look. I've got the mask on and I took it off before I stamped it down. So I'm inking it. You see the mask, I remove it, I stamp it. You're going to do this for all 4 of the cards. Once you have all of your stamping done, you're going to bring in your stamp chamois and clean that stamp set. The chamois is the best cleaner, squeaky clean. Then we're going to take that stamp just the way it was on your stamps on your block, and you're going to ink the arrows in your bluebird and line the word day back up over the top and stamp it down. So now you see we have one stamp set, but you have your arrows in blue and your day in black. You can also cut a stamp to do this as well, right? I think I shared a Val's Happy at Heart tip Tuesday with doing stamp surgery or cutting our stamps. Next, I added in the arrows in the Sundance, and now I'm coloring in our lettering with an alcohol marker. Remember, we use the intense black ink to stamp with because then it doesn't run when you go over it with an alcohol marker. So it was such a fun technique to color in all these letters. You could use whatever colors you wanted, but I did use the one that was suggested in the workshop guide for this card. And you'll see here I did a fun ombre technique. It didn't show up quite as much. You'll see in a future card that I did an ombre again, but I only used the 2 shades and it really stood out and looked nice. Once you have all of your coloring done, then we are ready to start assembling the card. And you know, my friends, you hear me say over and over, I have such a hard time putting things straight these days, so I did draw myself a line with a pencil and a ruler to make sure that I had these all lined up correctly. As I went along, I realized that I didn't have my spacing between each one of these correct, so I did have to move them over. So I do suggest that you put the one on the right side, the left side down first, and then the one all the way to the right side next, and then fill in the middle. It sure helps to get the spacing in between lined up correctly. Then I added some foam tape, added in our little zip strip, and of course some bling. We can't forget the bling to have a little sparkle. Now we're ready to start card number 2 the second way, and this one I decided to add in the black cardstock because, as you saw in the beginning, it really makes that pop. So here I'm drawing a line with the pencil and the ruler, and you notice that it was really hard for me to see the black on the black Versamat, so I stuck the white card front underneath it for just a moment so that I could really see my measurements on the ruler. And you see here I'm filling in with the one on the left, the one on the right, and then filling in the middle. The rest of this card I'm completing just the same as I did the first one, but you did see that I just inked the edges of my wording. That's another fun technique that adds just a little pop of color that helps your eyes to to really see the difference between the papers when you layer them together. This one, I also decided to put that little zip strip down on the bottom instead of the top, and I pulled in a blue alcohol marker here to color my gems. So don't forget, you can color your clear gems any color with an alcohol marker. Now for card number 2, the third way. We are going to do pretty much the same thing that we've done on the other cards, but for this one, I'm bringing in the black cardstock again because I really loved how it made that color pop. And I am going to, you'll see in a moment, I'm going to add in some shimmer trim. That candy apple shimmer trim is so fun on these cards, and I love how it's ribbon that is adhesive. I think if I was redoing this card, I might add that shimmer trim and I did. Okay, on top of the blue one. I think I was debating on where to put it, and I did ideally put it on top of the blue one on the periwinkle cardstock, which I thought was best. Here you see me fuss trying to get that shimmer trim straight. Even with lines, my friends, I am struggling, but I am receiving answers from the doctors now. We're finally getting this all figured out, and soon I will be sharing all that with you. But here we go. We're finishing up this card. Now for the card number 2, the fourth way, I grabbed an embossing folder. Any embossing folder you have will work just fine. You're not going to see a whole lot of it. It was all about the texture, not really about what I was embossing. So for this one, I used a dots embossing folder that I had. It was just a cascade of dots, as you can see there. Might also be fun to run a sanding block over those dots as well. That would really make those pop too. For this one, I decided to add black behind my words instead of the periwinkle, and so I loved pulling in that black here. Again, it really makes things pop. So I love the texture and that black cardstock here that it created. Again, coloring those gems with the alcohol marker. And look at there, my friends, we have completed card number 2 4 ways. I look forward to seeing you in card number 3.